And this is how we welcome you to Artistic Spot, a show about art, talent, and entrepreneurship, where you are also the artist. In Artistic Spot, we're actors of our movies, singers of our musicals, and writers of our books. Today, we have a very special guest sitting right next to me. It's actually a great sculptor, part of the FAVO family, Mr. Byron Walker.
Hello, how are you, man?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us in episode 99 of Artistic Spot.
That's my new favorite number.
99, right? Almost 100.
Right.
Which is a very important milestone. So, Byron, thank you for joining us in episode 99. Thank you for opening the doors of your studio for this magnificent pieces of sculpture that we see around us. Can you talk to us a little bit about who you are and how you ended up doing these amazing pieces that we can enjoy?
Well, I was born and raised right here in Orlando, Winter Park, Florida, and lived all my life here, but I went out west for a little while and did some studying and some living and back to Florida. And a lot of my work is derived from items I find every day. Some of it is organic, some of it is man-made, and I like to manipulate it in a way that it was not originally intended or designed to be used as you see it. So from tree roots to windshield glass to screws and wires to you name it. But I like, making art.
For how long have you been working on this beautiful pieces? And you also work in a very important museum in Winter Park. Can you tell us the story behind that?
Yeah, I work at the Plastic Museum and Sculpture Garden. I've been there 10 years now. I'm the facilities director. And I started there in our volunteer program and then just learned to love the place and jumped on an opportunity to make it part of my life. Yeah, it's interesting. I've grown a lot from working there as an artist because I've helped put together and create over 40 shows in 10 years. So that's pretty cool. You learn about artists, you meet all of them, their nooks and crannies, as you say. It's a great opportunity. And it's inspiring to be around really cool art every day, not only there and on the property, but here at FAVO as well, because all the artists here are really diverse and we all kind of blend together in a nice spot here.
Which is really amazing, right?
Oh yeah, I love being here. It's a great place to have a studio. It's a great outreach program by the church and by Will, and man, it's nice because in between my house and my work, and I come here and having the shows that we have and the opportunity to open this place up in my studio, twice a month to people out there in Central Florida.
How you ended up at FAVO? Because you have two studios, and this is pretty much your workshop.
Yeah.
We see sculpture pieces everywhere around the areas of your studios.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you ended up at FAVO and how that experience has been for you in the past few years since you started working as an artist?
I came on, I think, to FAVO about 4 or 5 years ago, and I knew what it was, had kind of, entertained the idea of seeking into it. I was at another studio group here in Orlando at the time and working with some other studios besides that, and then opportunity came up and saw Will eating tacos one day and was talking to him about this place and got a spot here, and the exposure opportunity of exposure that we have here is awesome. And I think it's a cool, like I said, outreach to the community, the art community, Florida, Central Florida, Orlando. Since I've been here, we've had people come from by a bus as far away from St. Pete and Ocala. So it's kind of becoming a destination here. And I like creating here. I can chainsaw at 10 o'clock at night and it doesn't bother about anybody, or you can be here at sunrise. I like that aspect of it. And well, I kind of came from a creative upbringing, and my mom was a seamstress and my dad was a woodshop teacher in school, and so they were both challenged me. I would say, hey, I want this, or I want to make this. Okay, how would we do it? Be it from a barn to a skateboard to whatever. good influences early, uh, being given the opportunity to have tools and learn how to use them, which has paid off, and having my dad as a teacher in school. Actually, I went to the same junior high there, and they always said do it, but try to figure it out on your own first, and then they were to help. So then growing up here, then worked in different industries, agriculture, and learned to love nature. And then I learned what landscape architecture was. So I studied landscape architecture in college and sculpture, because I knew I wanted to do something with my hands in the three-dimensional form. I had school, making things, ceramics, drawing, whatever. Got into stained glass windows for quite a while, but it was still, I wanted to make things in the 3D, and didn't realize how strongly then that I would, pursue what I do. And later in college, I started working with materials that were available, a lot of recyclable and reusable materials. Like I mentioned earlier, from broken windshields. I went to school out west, and there was 3 windshield repair places in a town of 30,000 people. So I kind of had a limitless supply of materials. What else? Just knowing how to weld, knowing how to, just the way I think about life and look at things is, I would say, not normal, but what's that? I do things and people are like, how did you ever think of that? I don't know, I just did. I asked a professor one time, am I cursed or blessed? And he said, yeah. So, just.
Now, Byron, you mentioned that you had creative parents. So if you were able to choose a memory that was the most impactful memory for you to be an artist, which memory would that be, and why?
I think one time I wanted a covered wagon, like I saw on TV and cowboy shows or whatever. And I had a Radio Flyer red wagon. So, me and my 7-year-old head went to my dad and said, I want to make this into a covered wagon. And so we talked about how to do it, and he obviously knew more than me, but it was a teaching opportunity for him and a learning moment for me. And we cut real thin strips of wood, soaked them in the bathtub, slumped them, put them all together, built a frame, and then my mom, out of Naugahyde, made a cover. And I remember putting my dog in there and playing whatever in the yard, but I had a freaking covered wagon and nobody else did. So that was pretty cool.
And how you see life now, after going through that process, growing up in a creative family, then having the opportunity to master your skills as an artist. How do you see life now, based on the fact that you mentioned that you love nature, because you were able to work with that too? How is life seen through the eyes of Byron Walker when you do this magnificent things with part of nature as well?
Wow, that's a big question. I just see kind of things I think of as opportunities to create. What's cool, I think, as a sculptor, I learned it from seeing pictures of Picasso's studio or Calder's studio, and there was shit everywhere. It was, and somebody's like, oh my God, clean this up, but they had a purpose for everything they'd either collected or put where it was at. And that's kind of the way I am with my materials. Everything's that I couldn't just sit down and paint one painting at a time. I like to have 5 different projects going on at different stages. Somebody came in the studio one day and I had this test board where I had glued a bunch of stuff down and paint and this, and I had scribbled notes and everything all over it, and he started reading it and he's like, what's this? I said, I got to work it out in a process first before you get to see what you see, because I don't want it to fall apart. I want it to look good. I want to have a meaning behind it. I want to have it to have meaning to the viewer. I want to speak to them, and even if I'm not there to talk to them about it, so invoke thought.
What inspires you to create this beautiful things that we have around your studio?
I don't know, a bunch of different stuff. I probably have, I don't know, it's, just seeing things in my head, what I could do with items I see in my daily life. Like the shoes piece outside. Why did I start recognizing shoes on the side of the road and then kind of have a semi-obsession about picking them up? There's a story behind every soul, and how they speak to you could be different from you to me. And so every piece I'd make, I put a part of me in it, emotionally and energy and, sweat and creativity. But I put a price on it. That's what I'll take.
Correct.
Because but if somebody just can't afford it, or they just whatever, I still want them to come away with a good experience. Be it like they hate it, which is you figured out you don't like it, or they love it, and well, tell me why, and where do we deliver it?
What about your favorite piece? Do you have a favorite one, or do you have many?
I don't know. I can't necessarily say I have a favorite piece. I have some that have been very emotionally meaningful to me as I was making them. Probably one of them jumps out, which I no longer have. My little boy and I, he was with me, it was two pieces, a rock and a stick. And he was with me both times I found each piece, 3,000 miles apart.
Wow.
In two different states, and I put something together, and it's gone away now, but it's the emotion goes into the experience, I think, of collecting the materials and of then putting them together in a way that I imagine. Hard cheese. I drove up to a job site to do a tree survey one day, and I look down, there's a pile of concrete. Well, the first one I see is triangular, and I see a piece of pizza or a piece of cheese, and it was there at the end of the day, so I threw it in the truck, and I came home and created that piece.
How hard is that creative process when you're constantly having your head going at 100 miles per hour and you have plenty of pieces you have to work on? How do you canalize the process and the emotions that you have to put in?
Oh yeah, that's tough. I mean, because sometimes I come across materials, kind of a non-traditional, user. I was like, oh my God, if I had all that right now, I could make X, Y, Z. But I got 10 projects ahead of it. So do I collect it, or do I let it go? It goes both ways.
What about the sketchbook? I know you have plenty of sketchbooks, and sometimes you use them before you create a piece, sometimes after. Can you tell us a story behind that, and why you want to portray that story you are creating and leave it there on a sketchbook where you can go back to what you did 10 years ago, or maybe go forward to what you did last week?
Right. They started in college, and it was a plant materials teacher that made us create a sketch every week. So he's like, go to the bookstore, buy a sketchbook, blah, blah, blah. So we could take notes, everything else in it. So that's where the habit came of creating something in the sketchbook. And then it just catapulted from there. You touched on it, kind of, that's going to speak to somebody, I hope, in the future, be it family or loved ones or fans or collectors. I hope that has some, because not everybody gets to see them. They see some photographs I made here and the results, but it's kind of special, but yet that's what I have to go through.
What's next for Byron as an artist?
More shows, more sales, Try to continue working with passion and drive and feeling, and no matter what I'm doing, whether it's one of the 10 projects on a list, or going somewhere, traveling, having that experience, and then bringing that change in energy and feeling from seeing something different than your day-to-day, and then implement it in your art.
How important are feelings and passion for you, now that you mentioned them a few times during our conversation?
Well, I want to feel good about what I'm putting out there. That kind of goes back to all the testing. You know, I don't want it to fall over or fall off the wall, and I'd rather over design to make it look very simplified. And I like it, like I said, for the feeling it gives me in a non selfish way, but the feeling that somebody gets when they see my work, you know, or I see somebody viewing my work. You know, I've seen kids sit in the chair, you know, and that just like, and that's awesome, you know. They have no idea what it is or what it took to make it or the theory or philosophy behind it, but they're having fun.
Now, Byron, before we leave, I want you to give our audience a message. Everybody watching us through social media, YouTube channel, everywhere podcasts are available, what would you tell them and why?
Thanks for this opportunity, and I appreciate y'all coming out and promoting the place. I mean, this place is awesome. If you're in Orlando, come. First Friday and Saturday of every month. We have a good time here. Check out my website at bwalker.com, bwalkerart.com, sorry. I'm on Facebook. Honestly, not real active, but maybe after this. And just be good to yourself and help support artists wherever you live. I mean, it's...
Thank you, Byron, for giving us the opportunity to experience the amazing things that are actually part of your studio. They're just a little glimpse of everything that you have done over the years, but we feel grateful to have you in our show, have you as part of Artistic Spot. Thank you so much for being part of our story.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
And for those of you, our audience, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, RJJ Design, JJ Art and Design on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Artistic Spot. And don't forget to tune us back in next week for episode 100, a celebration in Artistic Spot, where you are also the artist.